And I just kind of pitched this idea of like this best of show meets Spinal Tap for independent filmmakers. And I'm like, yeah, and we'll make it about three filmmakers trying to sell their movie, not make their movie, but sell the movie that they already made, which is a ridiculous movie in the first place. And let's throw every single trope and every single mistake and every single legendary ego trip that we've seen or have experienced ourselves into this movie. And that's exactly what I did. And then I called it On the Corner of Ego and Desire, because there's so much ego, so much delusion in filmmaking that I felt that we needed a movie to make fun of us, but with love, with love, and that's what it's a love letter to independent filmmaking. It's a love letter to Park City. To a smaller extent, it's a love letter to Sundance, even though they didn't accept the movie. But I love that. I love that experience at Park City. It's just such an amazing film festival, just for the experience of being there. It's kind of like a mini LA in that sense. Everything's about the movies. It's really a wonderful experience with the snow and everything. So I wanted to kind of tell the truth about Park City, tell the truth about Sundance and the real experience behind it, and then also tell the truth about filmmaking and how ridiculous we all are and the things we do in the chase of this golden carrot that I've been chasing so long. And we made the movie in 4 days, in about 36 hours, because I was still shooting interviews for the show. So I would make this movie on the side. It was kind of like my side hustle. We shot it on a pocket camera, the Blackmagic Pocket Camera 1080p with a monopod. We hired a sound guy, and he labbed everybody. So we just would run around with these. I cast it over Skype because all the actors I found were in New York. So I flew them out. First time I met them was at the condo, and we shot this movie. And it was this weird, wonderful, exciting, terrifying experience. You've got the elements against you, you've got time against you. You're kind of in a lot of ways making up things as you go along. Things are presenting themselves. Storylines are kind of creating when you start working with the actors. Like, oh, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? There was a structured script that I'd written that would kind of guide the whole process. But it was a wonderful experience. Probably one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had shooting. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And then I came home. I got on the plane. I had no idea if I had a movie. I had no time to even look. I'd scan footage to make sure I had something that I was recording, but I did not see if I had anything. I'm like, I think we've got everything we need. I think so. And it was, I think it was there. So I get home. I edit the movie literally in about a week. The movie got a rough cut within a week because there's not a lot of footage. So I was able to cut fairly quickly. Again, that pounding that stone, cooking that rice. And my producing partner, Adam, who was who co-produced this with me, he saw it. He's like, holy cow, you have a movie. And I think after the first rough cut, I think it was like 85% where the final was. And we were done in 3 weeks. The movie's mastered and finished within 3 weeks with sound design and everything. And then I sent that out to Cannes, and then I went down the festival circuit trying to get into the big festivals. And I got into one big festival, which is the Raindance Film Festival in England. That's where world premiered. But all the other ones turned me down because I guess they didn't want to promote Sundance. That was a big thing. I underestimated. They did not want to promote Sundance. So, and then Sundance and Slamdance rejected me. So I waited a whole year for those guys, and they rejected me. I was like, you know what? And South by Southwest rejected me. Like all these film festivals, I thought they would, but nobody wanted to promote Sundance at their festival. I was like, oh, this is some crap. But anyway, I got into Raindance, and I played at a few other festivals, and I got a premiere here in LA at the Chinese Theater, which was wonderful. And when I saw it projected, because I'd never seen it projected before, I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I could not believe the 1080p image of that little camera looks so stunning blown up. I was just blown away. It's the most beautiful thing I've probably ever shot. And I had a great DP, had a great skeleton crew, had some great actors in it as well. And I still laugh hard every time I watch it. Like, it's just so ridiculous. I enjoy it. I don't care if anybody else does. It's something I purely enjoy every time I watch it. Like when I watch it at a screening, I'm basically Robert De Niro in Cape Fear. I'm laughing louder than anybody else in the theater because I really, really just love the film. I truly, truly love it. And any filmmaker who's seen it, they just look at me and they're like, man, I mean, seriously. Like, you know, the movie that they're pitching in the movie, if I can give you that pitch, it's Shape of Water meets E.T. with Transformers drizzled on top. Now, I shot it in black and white. Most of the film is in slow motion, some upside down, because I really wanted to do that French New Wave Truffaut thing, but I really just want to get into the Criterion Collection. That's the pitch. And that pretty much sums up the entire movie.
Wow. Awesome.
And that should be coming out soon.
Okay. Was there, did you approach Ego and Desire differently than you approached shooting Meg?
Yeah, of course, because now I had Meg underneath my in my toolbox. So a lot of the mistakes I made on Meg, I didn't make on Ego and Desire. So I felt much more confident in it. I mean, this was a much more difficult shoot. I mean, we had no control over any environments, barely, except for a couple, you know, the condo and some other places that we had complete control of. Other than that, it was complete guerrilla pirate filmmaking. You know, I stole everything. I shot in Sundance headquarters for two full scenes. I was just in the belly of the beast. I was fearless. But when you're out there on the tightrope without a net, you feel the wind in your hair. You feel the brisk, and it's just so exhilarating to be out there. It's just, I love that kind of filmmaking. I love it. It's just so exciting to be out there, not knowing what's going to happen next. But that takes a special kind of filmmaker, and also takes a special kind of crew and actors to go along with that ride with you. So I give nothing but credit to my actors and to my crew to jump on the journey with me. And they jumped on because they knew that the movie would get released. They knew that people would talk about it. They knew that it would get seen somewhere, just purely on my own hustle. So, and it was an experience. Like, my pitch was, do you want to come to Sundance? And tell that story in 20 years about that one time that you almost made a film at Sundance. You made a film at Sundance. It's a story that nobody else has. I think it's a pretty cool story to have.
Absolutely. Now you have Filmtrepreneur, and it's like 2 podcasts weren't enough.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
And what's the goal behind Filmtrepreneur?
So Filmtrepreneur is my attempt to change the mindset of filmmakers when they're trying to make a movie. Right now, the mindset is I have to make a movie and then get it to a distributor or try to self-distribute the movie. But the only product that they're thinking about is the movie. That's the only thing they're trying to sell. That's the only way they think they can make revenue from it. And that's not true. It's just not true. So I wanted to create a blueprint, which I call the Filmtrepreneur Method, which is a guide on how to make money or turn your movie into a money-making business. Because as I've said multiple times, I quote my friend Suzanne Lyons about it, there's the word show and there's the word business, and the word business has twice as many letters as the word show. And there's a reason for that. It's a very, very specific reason for that, because without the business, there is no show. You know, right. You might be able to put on a show that looks bad, but you could maybe put it on. But without that business, it's hard to put the show on at a certain level, you know, and keep that budget going. So I wanted to create something like that. And there's multiple ways, you know, just a couple of ways you could do it. You could make money with ancillary product lines, services that you can render. So like when I made my movie Broken, I created a product that wasn't just a movie. It was a guerrilla film school. So it was a brand new product. I spent 6 weeks editing all this new content. It was a whole new project to build and make this DVD. That's what sold that movie. That's why I was able to sell 5,000 copies of it and made $100,000 off of an $8,000 short film in 2005, when no one has ever done anything like that at that time, because I was thinking a little bit differently. I also created workshops based on the marketing and based on the making of that movie that I used to do in Florida, other revenue streams that I was able to create from that movie. I was also able to open up a post-production company because filmmakers started seeing that movie and wanted me to do what I did with a DVX 100A and a Final Cut system for their film. So then all of a sudden I created an entire brand new company that dedicated just to be able to use Broken as a calling card to generate more revenue coming into me. There's so many different ways you could generate money that's not just selling the product. I've made much more money doing workshops and running a post-production company for the last decade and a half than I did selling the DVD. The DVD was just that was almost a loss leader at a certain point. I made a lot of money with it, but it was a loss leader. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways. I have a book called The Art of Broken, which was just all the art that we had created from all these amazing artists that I had an art of book for a short film. That's insane. Why would you do something like that? That's crazy. I would go to horror conventions and Comic-Cons selling posters and artwork from the movie. I would have people taking pictures with the cast. It was nonstop. But that's how you have to think about a movie. You can't think of it as just the one thing. And if you can, you really need to start thinking about this at the creation level. When you're really coming up with a movie idea, you got to start thinking of your niche audience. Who am I going to target this to? How am I going to sell it to them? Does this audience even want this film? Am I going to be able to, is this audience going to be able to justify the money that I'm going to spend on this product, which is the film? What other ancillary products can I create? What kind of products did this audience buy? How are they consuming their media? You know, if you're doing horror movies, a VHS special edition will probably sell real well. If you do a drama, that's not probably a place to go. You know, horror collectors, they generally like physical media, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS. Comedies, actions, not so much. Understanding these basic concepts will help you generate more revenue. Also, what services can I sell? What services can I provide the audience that I am nurturing, that I'm curating? So if you look at Indie Film Hustle as a filmtrepreneur, which it is, a filmtrepreneur model, this is Meg, Ego and Desire. I mean, Ego and Desire cannot be more of a filmtrepreneurial model than I can't do any better. Like literally that product is built for my audience. If you heard about a movie about 2-3 filmmakers trying to sell a movie at Sundance and some crazy filmmaker went and shot the movie at Sundance while Sundance is going on, would you watch it? If you never heard of me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So you would watch it. And then when you watch it inside the movie, I did something called the reverse filmtrepreneur method, which is placing a product inside the movie to sell the product that's existing already. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, they have to go visit the Indie Film Hustle podcast on their journey to find this producer. Why? I was using what I had. It was production value. It was aligned with my audience, and I made an unfortunate cameo in the movie because I wasn't gonna hire anybody to do it. So I was like, well, I'll do it. So furthering the alignment with the movie because people know who I am and my audience, and that's who I made this movie for, my audience. So my niche is my audience, and then after that, filmmakers, and then after that, anybody else who's interested in filmmaking, Sundance, anything like that. So these are the things you have to think about. What other services can you provide? So Indie Film Hustle, what am I doing? I've got a streaming service. I've got consulting. I've got workshops that I'm actually going to be doing workshops very, very soon. I've got online education. I've got there's multiple revenue streams coming in off of it. And then that one movie, like This Is Meg, I made money with the movie, but all the things I was able to create from it, like podcast episodes, which I was able to monetize, article posts, creating lists of all the gear that I use and create affiliate links to all of that stuff. So I'm making money off of that for years to come. If it's $100 a month, I'll pick it up if it's on the floor, right? It's money that I don't have to work for. Do you see what I'm saying? So you have to think holistically about your film. And if you could create a business, like Coppola said, Francis Ford Coppola said, if you can create a business that can support your filmmaking habit, then you are in heaven. And that's where I've landed right now in my much, much, much smaller version of that scenario. I've been able to create that situation for myself. And that is the Filmtrepreneur method in general. And then on top of that, I wanted to not only launch Filmtrepreneur, the website, but I also launched the podcast. I also launched a YouTube channel with new videos coming out almost daily, at least 4 or 5 times a week. And then I also came up with a new book. I just released my last book in March. I was like, nah, it's time for a new book. So I wrote an entire book, which I'm literally going to be handing to my editor next week.